UFL expansion to 10 teams confirmed by Mike Repole for the 2028 season. Now, of course, Mike Repole and the rest of the league's executives and head coaches all were in Orlando last night. Not only according to Mike Repole himself on X, but we learned from Super Renegades fan and UFL super fan James Baker's post yesterday that UFL head coaches are in Orlando today, that was yesterday, filming promotional content and meeting with owner Mike Repole prior to training camp starting in a couple weeks. We now know from a picture from Mike Repole's account that league officials, including Dean Blandino and I believe one of the directors of player personnel, were present during this meeting as well. A lot is currently cooking in the UFL, but it is what Mike Repole posted based on an interview he had with Front Office Sports. He shared the post that they posted their article version of the interview from the podcast on Monday, and he shared it and said, the league has 8 teams and 8 great markets, but I'm going to put it on screen. In 2028, we expand to 2 teams. So where should we go next? Now, of course, this has been the plan all along. We've talked about it here on the channel. It is the same sort of message we heard from his long-term plan to expand the league by 2 teams every 2 years until they have 16 teams total. And that if it didn't happen by 2020 or 2035, Mike Repole would consider himself a failure with the UFL. Now go back to that interview that Repole did with Front Office Sports. He made some very interesting comments during that interview that even I appreciate and shows his determination. Now, of course, I've talked about lately my dissatisfaction with the shop, the merchandise fiasco that's happened, but this is where he puts into words just how committed he is to this league. And he stated, he was like, I would rather, and I'm paraphrasing here, I would rather take on a league that had a 1% chance of survival compared to someone telling him that it had a 99% guarantee success rate and 99% survival rate. He would rather take on basically everything being a 1% chance, because that interests him more of working against all odds to make a product succeed. He did mention in the interview that he has provided, or his capital company has provided a lot of money into the UFL. And given the fact that he was pretty much handed over the keys and has really reshaped the league to be his own baby, makes sense. I will say, despite Danny and Dwayne having still co-ownership of the league, it truly appears that Mike Repole, in my opinion, has put more effort, or the most effort and commitment into the league in just these almost 7 months that he's been around than these two have over time. Obviously, we can say with Danny, she has had a lot of influence in the league over time, going back to 2022 with the XFL revamping officially in 2023. Well, Dwayne The Rock Johnson hasn't been to an UFL game since opening weekend of the merger back in 2024, where I stood behind my camera in Arlington recording his press conference with Russ Brandon shortly after kickoff of the Birmingham Stallions Arlington Renegades game back in 2024. So again, I have made a couple of videos to where I believe the league will go in 2028, and Phil, they have already had those two locations in mind. Just my guess. Again, if Detroit gets their new soccer stadium done by the 2028 season, I truly think that the Michigan Panthers will be back. But a lot of people are commenting on two other markets that have been such high ratings for the league outside, like TV ratings, that have no team in their market, outside of Columbus, Ohio, and Louisville, Kentucky markets, who now have teams, obviously, with the Kings and Aviators. And that, of course, is Oklahoma City and New Orleans. Obviously, with Oklahoma City, the new MAPS 4 multi-purpose stadium is being built currently just south of Bricktown and will be a 10,000 plus capacity stadium, very probably similar to Lynn Family Stadium that the Kings are currently about to sell out. We'll talk about that. But it's due to be completed and opening by early 2028, which would be perfect timing for the UFL. Which my suggestion for a team is on the thumbnail of this video, and that is using the Spring League football team identity like they did with the Columbus Aviators and use the linemen. But this time, attach it to Oklahoma City linemen instead of, they didn't have cities attached to those teams back with the Spring League during the pandemic. Like the custom logo I made and added onto the Spring League lineman logo. The other part of this is obvious, and that same type of stadium being built is, of course, Alumni Field, located at former Southwest Detroit Hospital site, where that stadium is set to open late 2027, early 2028, and perfect timing, again, for the Michigan Panthers to return. Obviously, I don't disagree with New Orleans with the Shrine on Airline being a location, which I believe was supposed to go under renovations late 2025, but I haven't seen anything. Maybe someone in that area can correct me. I can't find any reports where they've completed these. They've started on them, but the remodel is supposed to happen to really get it up to like a soccer football stadium. Set up very similar to how Cashman Field was, but probably a little bit better, obviously, with the Vegas Vipers in 2023. And then also possibly if the Stallions move next year to from Protective Stadium to a smaller stadium with Hoover Met, which I know a lot of you have mentioned, they have issues with the yearly SEC baseball tournament, which runs from May 19th to May 24th, at least this year. So that would make it where this maybe is a near to impossible fit for the Stallions, unless the league does move the Stallions back to the week after the Super Bowl, or the schedule back to the week after Super Bowl, where this venue could potentially work for the Stallions. Maybe a little tricky with playoffs or whatnot, with having to make sure that's ready for a baseball field. But either way, as I have talked in the past with expansion and going to 10 years or 10 teams in 2028, that I truly believe Detroit will be one of these and Michigan Panthers will return. And then it's a toss-up between Oklahoma and New Orleans. I would see that Oklahoma would probably be the more, I guess, like promising and kind of like attractive location because of a brand new stadium and not having to go back to using another baseball stadium, depending on if those renovations ever get done. And again, before I get screamed at for the Seattle Sea Dragons making a return to the league, I don't disagree with that. I am still very much in favor of it. My problem still lies with Lumen Field, and I know people are like, well, there's soccer stadiums in other cities. I don't think if you're bringing back the Sea Dragons, you move them to somewhere else in the state of Washington and get rid of the Seattle name to them. To me, it just doesn't work. Just get a new team at that point. But again, I'm in favor with it, but it just doesn't meet what Repole is looking for. Unless the league really takes off in the next 2 seasons and starts selling out left and right, which, like I mentioned earlier, we are already hearing that opening night in Louisville could be a sellout. But don't worry, Kings fans, cheap plug, of course, because if you go back to the video I posted on Monday, which will pop up on the screen in the corner or up here somewhere, you can still go to it and enter to win opening night tickets to the Stallions and Kings game in Louisville that I have secured 2 tickets to. And let me tell you, the view on these seats, there's not a bad view in this stadium. I've looked it over, and let me tell you, the view of these seats, which are on the Louisville Kings home side based on the map, absolutely amazing. I really wish I could be there. It is very expensive to travel to Louisville during that time, but I will pick a random winner through the comments of that video Friday morning and then transfer the tickets over to you to your Ticketmaster account. Either way, though, back to what we're talking about here. Either way, with this confirmation, it is clear as day that things are heading in the right direction. And despite my interest kind of fading for the UFL over the past couple weeks, as I've talked about, spring football in general as well, because of some of these major hiccups we've seen over time, I can officially say that I'm not going anywhere, clear as day, and really just need to sit back and truly remember what we've seen along the way. And there has been worse times with spring football from 2019 to now, and where we've gotten our hopes up and our dreams crushed and the lack of commitment from owners and leagues shutting down, etc. I will say, seeing that yesterday was the 25th anniversary of the XFL kicking off, and he hate me, and just the overall presence of spring football, which, mind you, I ended up turning that game on last night with the Las Vegas Outlaws versus the New Jersey Hitmen game last night, and God, it's so terrible, but just the nostalgia of the game and everything, I tell you, it lit some fire in my heart and that passion for spring football and the excitement for UFL, let alone, let's not forget, if we are hearing that the Kings game on March 27th is near to being sold out completely, oh, that gets me so hyped up for the UFL, because Friday night, opening night in the UFL, I mean, you can't write this any better. Opening night for the 2026 season, when people had doubt about the UFL, they turn on Fox on prime time television and see a rowdy, loud crowd in Louisville, Kentucky for the Kings game, facing off with the Birmingham Stallions. What an absolutely showcase that the UFL has on their hands for this. I am hearing the other markets are doing very well as well. Again, for that opening weekend, we'll keep an eye on that. But it kind of reminds me that we have not seen a sellout crowd in the UFL at all. We have seen one sellout game or a couple in 2023 in the XFL with the DC Defenders selling out Audi Field. But overall, we can't forget, this is going to be absolutely amazing no matter how you spin it. And I think with the league growing to 10 teams in 2028, it shows the money, the commitment that Mike Repole has. And the fact that he has mentioned 8 teams in 8 great markets does make me think there is a lot of hope for Birmingham, whether it is staying at Protective Stadium or moving to Hoover Met or somewhere in that direct area. Absolutely amazing, instead of actually relocating them and giving up on that market altogether, because that market has done a lot for spring football overall when it goes back to the USFL in 2022 and beyond. So again, we can't forget this, but we also cannot forget, as always, the members of this channel who support, and let me get that off screen, who support the channel. And they have continued to support a lot of changes on the membership front of statuses. Steven Johnson, 5398, 5 months of continued support. We truly appreciate it. Lupe Lyons, 17, 3 months. Mitchell Still, 2 months. Support Radical Habits, 2 months. David Perez, M70, 2 months. 9Ball Chris, 1 month. Little Cam, 5-1, 1 month. DJP, 16, 1 month. Dustin Ward, 8540, 1 month. Clyde R. Emerson, 1 month. Ralph Kun 2291, 1 month. And Cheesy Capitals fan, 1 month. And then to all of our new members under 30 days, Yara, Fred Smith 7964, Appleman 20, Sectors 1019, Domcha 7849, Steven Sharon 113, Denzel Season 25, and our newest member, who is a big fan of the show. Thank you again for your comments and everything. Caleb Gordon. Thank you for all your continued support here on the channel. And I've got to say thank you to everybody that left the most very kindest comments and everything on the last video I made with the passing of my dad. I truly appreciate everyone on this channel. You guys are a community, and this is what the UFL needs to succeed, is a community like the one we have built here. I appreciate everyone. I will be flying to Ohio this weekend for the funeral. Keep an eye out. That's all I'm saying. Some things kind of worked out perfectly, and you'll see. But again, the main priority is going to Ohio to support my family up there and everything. But there's some little things I've got planned beforehand. So we'll see ya. On the flip side, keep an eye out, because we are still on the lookout to see if uniforms are going to be released this week or potentially next week. But I will have a video up on Friday, which I will announce the winner of the giveaway for the Kings tickets. I will also comment on that video to comment to the winner and let them know they've won. And we will be talking about the best locations for the UFL and top locations for home field advantage going into the 2026 season. Part of my 8 weeks until kickoff series. It is the kickoff of the 2026 UFL season series. Over 8 weeks, 8 videos until we get to kickoff in just about 8 weeks from Friday. It is crazy to think. Thank you again for joining me here, and we'll see you on the flip side.